SaaS, and in today's episode, we are going to be fixing the inter-item spacing between each element in our chat room screen. So in the left simulator, we have the current state of our project. If we jump into a channel, as you see right here, you can see this massive spacing between each item. Look at the difference between this bubble text view and this bubble image view. Like, that's a massive space. And same thing with this. Look at the difference of the spacing between this bubble audio view and this bubble image view. And as you can see in the completed version of the project, which we have on this right simulator right here, each element, as you can see, is nicely spaced. There's very little spacing between them. And this will become even more pronounced when you're running these applications on an actual physical device. And as you can see, this is the completed version of the project. Look at how nicely spaced they are. And we have this batching element as well. We're also batching our messages by timestamps. So which means if a message was sent today, we're going to batch them by today. If they were sent yesterday, we batch them in yesterday. And as you can see, we have this yesterday timestamp. If we scroll up, we have the date. So we're going to work towards fixing this into item spacing today. And the way we're going to do that is by converting our table view to a UI collection view. And I'll explain why. So if we jump into Xcode, let us jump right into our messages list controller inside of our chat folder, the views folder. Look for your messages list controller. Let's open that in a new tab. So when I was initially building out the project, I opted out for a UI table view because it's a much more simpler component compared to the UI collection view. But as I continue to build out the project, I realized the spacing between each item was just a little bit too large. And the reason is because we're using this dynamic sizing, auto resizing of each cell. So right here inside of our height for row method, which is our UI table view delegate method, we're returning each height of each cell by using the automatic dimension. So that means we don't have to manually calculate each height of each individual cell that we have here, or each individual item, which is great for us, right? It reduces the amount of work that we have to do. Back in the good old days of UIKit, you probably would have had to calculate that manually. But these days, automatic size, automatic dimension comes in clutch for us. However, I've noticed we need to shrink that size. So the only way we could do that is to actually use a UI collection view. So I'm going to jump right up here and I am going to change this UI table view into a UI collection view. And I'm also going to use a UI compositional layout. So if we jump to our to-do file right here, we're going to go ahead and convert our table view to a collection view. We're going to use a UI collection view compositional layout, right, as our layouts object. And then we're going to add a couple of more other functionality, pull to refresh and pull to refresh prompt view. Let's jump right back to our message list controller and get to business. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right ahead and comment out this table view property right here. And I'm going to close the canvas for now, just so we have more spacing. And I'm going to go right ahead and declare a collection view now. And I'm just going to call this a messages collection view, which is going to be of type UI collection view. Okay, so I'm going to declare all of the properties that the collection view needs inside of this anonymous closure. We're going to make sure we have the collection view layout, and we're going to handle that in just a second. Let us just use a UI collection view flow layout for now. Again, remember, we're going to be using a UI collection view compositional layouts, but for now, let's just use that as a placeholder. The next thing we want to do is, let's see, right here, we want to translate. We're going to say collection view dot translate auto size masking, so we could use our auto layouts. The next thing we want to do is we want to set our data source to self, and we also want to set our delegate to self. Okay, so with those two done, the next thing I would like for us to do is I'm going to say this collection view dot, let's see, self-sizing invalidation. Okay, I'm going to say enable including constraints. So I want it to resize itself if our auto layout ever changes. Okay, so the next thing is let us also take our scroll edge insets. So we have the scroll edge insets from this table view. I'm going to go right ahead and do that for our collection view as well. So I'm going to say collection view, the scroll indicator insets is, let's see, what did we do up here? I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to go right ahead and paste it. And I'm going to do the same thing for our collection view scroll indicator for content inset itself, actually. Not content offsets, we want content insets, not the offsets. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to also use the keyboard dismiss mode. So I'm going to say collection view, the keyboard dismiss mode is also drag. And let's see, the next thing I would like for us to do is to make sure our background color is clear. So I'm going to say collection view, the background color, clear. And I'm just going to go ahead and return this collection view and close off our anonymous closure. So with that being done, it's going to yell at us. We're going to get a bunch of error and we're going to go right ahead and fix each one at a time. And I'm going to go ahead and also remove, now I no longer need this specific table view component. So I'm going to remove this. And let us go ahead before we even fix any of the other issues. Let us go right ahead and set out our compositional layout. So I'm going to create a layout up here. And the layout is going to be a UI collection view compositional layout. So if you're not used to collection view, these are just these are things that I would encourage you to like look up online because it's pretty much beyond the scope of this specific tutorial right now. But really all we're trying to do is we're trying to create a collection view compositional layout that we can then be able to directly change the spacing between each of our items. So I'm going to declare a UI collection view compositional layout. And I know it's going to come with a section index. And what else does it normally come with? I think a layout environment. Okay. And then I'm going to go right ahead and let's see. So we have our layouts. I'm going to go ahead and configure our layout. So I'm going to say var list configuration is going to be equals to UI collection view list configuration. The appearance is going to be plain. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is I'm going to say the list configuration. I'm going to change the background color to be something like UI color, the gray, with alpha placements of 0.2. And I'm also going to change the list configuration dot show separators is equals to false. And the next thing we want to do is I'm going to create a section now inside of our compositional layout. I'm going to say NS collection layout section. I want to use the list type, and I'm going to use the list configuration that we just created up here and pass in the layout environment that we're getting. Okay, the next thing now is this is the sweet spot. This is where we're actually going to get to, create or reduce the spacing between each individual item. As you see in the completed version of the project, we're going to reduce the spacing now. And the way we're going to do that is by accessing our sections, contents, and sets. So I'm going to say section, the content and sets. As you can see, we have a leading version. I'm going to set that to 0. I'm going to do section, the contents and sets again. Trailing, I'm going to set that to 0. And I'm going to say section dot intergroup spacing. This is the one that we really need. This is going to reduce inter item spacing. So this intergroup spacing, let us set this to 0 for now. And that way we're going to come back and check and see if it actually has the effect that we want. So I'm going to return our section. So now, instead of using a UI collection view flow layout, I'm actually now going to use our layouts that we just created here. And instead of calling it layout, let's just be much more clearer. Let's call it compositional layout. Again, if you're not familiar with what compositional layouts is, please look it up on YouTube. It's a pretty much UI collection view. It's a UI kit components that allows us to be able to build UI collection views. And you can read up on Xcode documentation or just a bunch of blogs to get more insights on it. So with that being done, we've passed in our compositional layouts. And the reason we're able to directly just pass in our compositional layout from inside of a property is because this is a lazy variable. And if you're not familiar with what a lazy variable is, it's just a variable that's not initialized until the first time it is used. So that allows us to be able to access our class properties. So with that being done, we have our messages collection view. We have our compositional layout. Let us go and fix all of these errors. And the first couple of errors I would like for us to fix is actually the layout errors. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here. And right below here, we have our anchors that are not yelling at us because we no longer have anything called table view. It's called messages collection view. So I'm going to go ahead and call it messages collection view. I'm going to call this messages collection view. And also our table view register is no longer a thing because we're not using the collection view. So let's go right ahead and remove that. And honestly, I'm just going to register the collection view inside of our messages collection view anonymous closure, honestly, because for you to dequeue a collection view cell, first you have to register it. So right here, I'm going to say collection view, the register, and I'm just going to say UI collection view cell, the cell type, and the identifier is just going to be our cell identifier, which we created a bunch of episodes ago. If you come out and click into it, it's a class level property right here, messages list controller cells. So with our collection view registered and our setup views method error fixed, the other thing we need to go fix is, so inside of our setup message listeners, as you can see, we have this error that's yelling, there's no more table view. So now it's messages collection view.reload data. And now it's also going to yell at us here because this is no longer table view. This is now a messages collection view. And the collection view actually does not have a scroll to the bottom method. So let us go right ahead and fix this scroll to last row method. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom right here. And where we're declaring an extension of UI table view, let us change this to a UI collection view. And now we're going to convert this to a UI collection view extension. So this is no longer UI table view scroll position. It's a UI collection view scroll position. And this is no longer number of rows. This is going to be number of cells or number of items. So I'm going to say number of items in section. And I'm just going to say number of sections -1. Okay, I think that fixes our issue. So this is now number of items instead of number of rows. And I think everything else is good. Oh, so we have scroll to item instead of scroll to row. So collection views call it scroll to item or just has index path.item, while table view call it index path.rows. It's just their naming terminologies. So with our collection view, scroll to the last item fixed, and we could change this to scroll to last item. Let us scroll all the way to the top now and let us fix this. So it's going to be messages, scroll to last item. and that fixes our error. So we have a couple of more errors now. We have our delegates and data source error, which is for our messages collection view. Let's go right ahead and fix that. If we scroll all the way here where we have our marker, I'm going to change this to a UI collection view delegates and a UI collection view data source. And the way I'm going to do that is by removing all of this other delegates. So I'm going to say UI collection view delegates. And then I'm going to say UI collection view data source. Okay, I'm going to replace that conformance. So now this is going to yell at us because we're referring to the UI collection UI table view delegates when we have told it we want to conform to the collection view versions of it. So let's go right ahead and collapse. I'm going to collapse all of these methods for now, and I'm going to fix them one by one. So the cell for row is now going to be cell for item. Okay, and I'm just going to go right ahead and take everything that we have inside of our cell for inside of our table view cell for cell for row. Remove this table view version, paste it into our collection view version, and instead of table view.dequeue cell, now it's going to be collection view.dequeue cell. And let's see, let me just rewrite this version. I'm going to say dequeue reusable with cell identifier is our cell identifier and our index path. Okay, so with that being done, our background color is going to remain as clear. And why is this yelling at us? Oh yeah, collection views don't have a separation style. The way we already created the separation style in our compositional layouts. And so we have fixed the cell for row method, if I am not wrong. I'm going to change this row to item. It doesn't really matter in this instance, but let us collapse our cell for item method. And now let us fix our number of items in section method. It's going to be cell for item in section, or number of items, not cell. Number of items in section, which is the collection view version of this table view delegate. So I'm going to take this, put it in here, and remove this. The next thing we're going to do is our number of, so for height for row method, we no longer need to do this because this is going to be automatically calculated by our collection view. And for our select method, let us go ahead and fix that with our collection view select item. And I'm going to copy everything that we had inside of our select item for table view. I'm going to move that up here, actually including this application, this keyboard dismissal logic. And I'm going to remove this table view select row method. And also let us go right ahead and remove this audio method because remember in our last couple of episodes, we actually built out our voice message player. So we no longer need to use the show media player to play audio messages. So I'm going to remove this method. I'm going to remove this case and everything should be good. I think we've fixed most of our errors. Let's see. It looks like we still have an error somewhere. It says can't find table view, and that is correct. So we're going to change this from table view in our view did load instead of our messages list controller to collection view. Oh, well, it's called messages collection view from a property level. And let us go ahead and run our project now. Everything should be good to go. So let's go to a channel. Let's go to our fantasy football and see the spacing between each item. And so everything seems to be working so far. Let's click on select, make sure it's still working. That's awesome. That looks to be playing our media player view, and our voice messages seems to be working, which is awesome. However, the spacing between each item is still large, even though we made our intergroup spacing 0. So let's jump back to our messages list controller right here. Let's scroll all the way down to this compositional layouts. So inside of this compositional layout, like I said, this intergroup spacing is how we're trying to reduce the spacing between each item. And let us go ahead and bump this to, I don't know, let's try something like -5, and let's see what that looks like. Even though it's negative, we probably should stick to 0. But again, it's just inter-item spacing. It's intergroup spacing, so it's okay. Let us see what's going on. Let's go back to fantasy football. And okay, that reduced the spacing just a little bit. Well, let's make it 10. And let's run our project and let's see what that looks like. Let's go to a channel. Let's go to this specific channel. Ooh, look at that, guys. Did you see that? Taking notes. Right? This is the old version of our application before the beginning of this episode. And if I put the two simulators side by side, you can see the difference between the spacing. Look at this, right? Look at this, much, 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 much closer together, which is exactly what we sort of have in mind. That is awesome. So with that being done, the other thing I want to add for this episode, like I said at the beginning, was this pull to refresh functionality that we have in the completed version of the project. So if I jump to the completed version of our project, as you can see, when we pull to refresh, it actually pulls to refresh. So let us add that pull to refresh. In the next couple of episodes, we're going to start paginating our messages. So I'm going to scroll all the way up here, just right above our compositional layouts. I am going to create a pull to refresh, property. I'm going to say private lazy var. It's just going to be a UI refresh control. And we're going to create an anonymous closure, pull to refresh. A UI refresh control. And let's see, we're going to return our pull to refresh inside of our anonymous closure. And let us add an action, or before we even add an action to this, let us go ahead and say, and add this to our collection view. So collection views have a pull to refresh functionality. So we can just come down here and say collection view dot pull to refresh dot yeah, collection view dot refresh control, I believe actually, yep, is equals to our pull to refresh that we just created right up here. So let's go right ahead, run our project really quickly, and let's see what our pull to refresh actually looks like. So let's go to a channel, let's scroll all the way to the top. And when we pull down, look at that, guys. That looks beautiful. As you can tell, it just keeps spinning forever. We need to hand the spinning when the refresh is done. So let's go right ahead and add an action to our pull to refresh control. By the way, this is just a UI kit, component. Again, this is how you write anonymous closure syntax. This is pretty common when you're writing programmatic elements in UI kit. There's nothing really magical about this. If you're not familiar with UI kit, I know this might look like a lot or it might look intimidating, but trust me, these are just simple elements that we're building. So I'm going to go right ahead and add an action to our pull to refresh. I'm going to add a target. I'm going to say self. And I'm going to add a selector, and let's just call it refresh data. That's the name of the selector. And the value events, or the control events, is just going to be value changed. So I'm going to come down here and actually create a refresh data method. And I'm going to scroll the way down here. I'm going to add a method using Objective-C, private function, refresh data. And the reason I'm marking it with the Objective-C parameter or marker right here is because whenever we're dealing with selectors, we have to mark it with this Objective-C. Again, these are just UI kit related boilerplate codes. So now the next thing I want us to do is to say collection view, or well, we call the messages collection view dot end refreshing, or dot refresh control dot end refreshing. Okay, so I think that should fix our issue. Let's run our project really quickly. Let's see what that looks like. Jump into a channel, scroll to the top, pull to refresh. Look at that. As you can see, it disappears. It disappears. That is awesome. The next thing I would like for us to add is some sort of a prompt that allows a user, or actually, you know what? We are going to do that in the next coming episode. I think this is a pretty good place to stop. Thank you for watching as always, guys. In the next couple of episodes, we're going to start paginating our messages. We're going to start paginating our chat room. And we're also going to get started with push notifications before we start handling video calling functionality. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I really appreciate your support. Please like and subscribe. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.